but we're missing
Commissioner Rogers.
Is Commissioner Willie on there? Yep. Well, no, he's not, but his camera is.
His kitchen is.
There he is, the floating cup. I know we're all drinking warm things, I think, to stay warm, some in varying levels of temperature.
Yes. So, Madam Vice Chair, we are ready when you are.
Great. Let's get started. We're reconvening our work session, and thank you for coming back. Thank you for allowing those of us who needed to have a lunch to have a lunch. And I'd like to now turn it over to Martin Granum and Jack.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Trees. Good afternoon, Commissioners. And we are here today. Along with me is Martin Granum, Facilities and Park Services Manager, as well as Greg Wyman, our Real Property Manager. And we're here to brief you on I want to say, an infrequent transaction business matter in terms of the county's property management related with the ejectment. And this is related with the property that we acquired through the foreclosure process, where we have an unauthorized occupant on the property, where we need to work with this on some legal actions on that. So I'll pass it on to Martin and Greg, give you the full briefing on this matter.
Thank you, Jack. Hello, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The only thing I'll add to that is this is a necessary step to prepare this particular parcel for disposition. Occasionally, we do need to exercise this ejectment process. It always comes to you as a board for green lighting. And so in general, we'll be back occasionally, and specifically for this one, it's so we can prepare this parcel for disposition. And Greg Wyman, your Real Property Manager, will take it from there.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Since Real Property's last ejectment was late 2015, we again wanted to bring this to the board, since it's been approximately 5 years since we've been involved in an ejectment process, so that we could inform the board on the process of ejectment and the reasons for the need of ejectment on property that we own. We also would like to garner support and direction from the Board of Commissioners to bring the consent agenda item into a future for authorization at a future BOC. The ejectment is a civil action to recover possession and title to land. To recover possession of the property, the county must file a suit pursuant to Oregon Revised Statute 105.005 through 105.080 for statutory ejection. If successful, the county would obtain a judgment awarding possession of the property and a writ of execution authorizing law enforcement to help secure the property. Next slide, please. In February 2020, Washington County was deeded a parcel of land consisting of approximately 0.10 acres through a tax foreclosure process for non-payment of property taxes. The property is located directly east of 2272 Southeast Brookwood Avenue in Hillsborough. There is no physical street address for this property. It's similar to someone's backyard. If you look at the house on the corner, it's almost like an extension of that property, but it is a separate tax lot. Judgment was taken in the foreclosure case in 2017, and the period for redemption expired in 2019. The county is the sole and lawful owner of the property. Staff has confirmed that the property is currently occupied by an unknown individual or individuals in an RV or motorhome. Next slide, please. And this you can see is the property from the street. Next slide, please. The individuals occupying the property are not the former owner who is deceased. All known occupants have been notified of the county's lawful ownership and have been requested to relinquish possession pursuant to a notice to vacate, which was posted on the premises on November 18th, 2020. The notice to vacate requested the property be vacated within 30 days, including contact information and an opportunity for those occupants to reach out to the county with questions or concerns. But to date, there has been no contact, and the occupants still remain on the property. The ejection action is necessary at this time so we can secure the property, and it can be added to the 2021 auction list as mentioned by both Jack and Martin. Future ejectments, if more often, would not necessarily be brought to a work session unless so desired by the board. Are there questions?
Chair?
I have a question. Have the nearby property owners been informed of this process and the notice that you were just discussing?
They have not been informed, and they have not made any complaints either. There's some apartments that look over the back of this property. There's a resident on each side flanking it, and no complaints have been made by any of those neighbors.
Okay.
Are there other questions? I have a question. You said that there's notifications put up. Could you contact the people that are there? Was there contact made with them?
I personally put the notice on the property with county council's drafting of the notice. There were no occupants there at that time, or no one answered. So we posted the notice in concert with the way it's supposed to be posted under the law, and we had not heard from them. It gave contact information for myself and asked if they had some questions or concerns to reach out, so that in an effort, if they did reach out, we could work with them if they needed more time than the 30-day notice to vacate. And to date, as I said, we have not heard from them.
So the attempt to contact them was made?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there other questions?
So our plan at this point was we will get this on the agenda as a consent agenda item for formal approval at a subsequent board meeting business agenda. We just wanted to take this opportunity in work session to sort of explain the process and give you a heads up on this particular parcel.
You go ahead, Chair. Do you have a question?
It was really about those next steps. So, okay, we have this item on the consent agenda, but what happens from there?
So Chair Harrington, whenever, as explained, that this is an infrequent transaction for the county, and we definitely keep county council every step along the way. And this is actually the first step of the process to basically get the ejection filed, so we can start the attempt working with the unauthorized occupant to essentially reclaim the property to get it back on our surplus property disposal list. And our real property team, actually, I see that Greg raised his hand. I was just going to lead over there. It's that has a long experience working on foreclosed properties and working with the occupants, whether if it's authorized occupants or unauthorized on this matter. So I will pass it on to Greg on our business process overview for that.
Thank you, Jack. I'd like to ask that Clerk Moss please promote Courtney Duke Dreesen. She's with County Council and can address the technicalities of the next steps through the process.
While we're promoting Courtney, I'll also add that once we get the green light to do that, each one of these sort of takes on, it's a bit of an odyssey where we follow the statute and sort of meet the needs of the people we're trying to interact with. Oftentimes at the end of this is a little bit of cleanup where we have some personal property that's abandoned. As you can see, some of those vehicles are likely to be left. And so there'll be some level of work to restore the site to a point where it could be ready for auction. And that's sort of a case by case, but Courtney can speak to the statutory next steps.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair Treese. I'm not sure if your question was about the next steps legally, but because we don't often, Washington County isn't often the plaintiff in a lawsuit, which we would be in this civil action. Once we have your authority to file the lawsuit, I'll prepare a pretty simple complaint saying that we are the lawful owner and that we are entitled to possession and ask for a writ of assistance. Once that's filed, we have to serve the plaintiff. So Commissioner Treese, there'll be more notice to the people occupying the property. Because we don't know who they are, we'll get permission from the court to serve them by posting. We will attempt to get them very specific notice, but since we don't know who they are, we can't name them. And since our attempts so far have been haven't been answered, that makes that a challenge. But this is a process we've engaged in before. Then they'll have 30 days to answer with their legal basis for being on the property. In all the adjustments I've been involved with on behalf of the county, we've never had anyone actually file an answer. That period just ends, and then we can move for a default judgment, which then the judge just awards us possession and the writ of execution, which we then deliver to the sheriff's office, who goes out there and makes actual contact with the occupants and asks them to go.
And then
So-
on the follow end of that is some actual physical securing of the property that comes back to this division to execute, where we harden it, if you will, so future squatters can't come in there and reoccupy. And then we clean it up and then get it on the queue for disposition.
So thank you, Courtney and Greg and Martin. I appreciate hearing that. It's both the legal, I'll call it bureaucratic next steps, but also the humanist steps as well. And that's what I wanted to hear more about, how through the process, there are actual points where you are reaching out, trying to reach the folks, direct them to whatever services they might need. Because there's an off chance that we individually or collectively hear from members of our public who read the basic information and, you know, come back and say, well, you're dealing with this in a bureaucratic manner versus dealing with the fact that we're talking about humans. So that's where I needed to hear more about that. Thank you.
I have one other question. Greg, did I understand you correctly that, did you say that in the future, this would not be a situation like this would not be brought back to the board?
We wouldn't necessarily bring it to a work session unless the board requested. We're bringing this one to this work session in as much as it's been 5 years since the last process of ejectment, and we wanted to bring the board up to speed about that process and the need for it.
Processes. Got it. Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification. Are there other questions?
I don't know if this is a question, more of a suggestion. I'm a little uncomfortable of like suing and homeless people and going that route. Is there any different opportunities or services available that we could exploit before we go that route? Like, where should those people, is there any suggestions, I guess, to where they should go in the county services around homelessness? And also, I heard the 30-day notice, but is there, how immediate is the county gonna use this property, or what is the plan to immediately utilize this property upon ejecting people out? Or
Well,
could it be like a little longer than 30 days, and then put in plan in motion to really help people? You know, I don't know. I'm hesitant to say house them because I'm not sure that's realistic, but definitely help them navigate some of that challenges to be placed somewhere else.
Greg, I'll let you talk about the human services piece of that to the extent that we can. Commissioner Fye, I'll just say our intent with this step now is to prepare it for the auction that we plan on having this year, which is consistent with our policy of putting this back into the best use for the community through the auction process is the approved vehicle to do that. So that's our goal, is to make this ready for an auction. And I think also motivating us is this idea that in this neighborhood, there's this homeless camp that's popped up on a parcel of land that we are the stewards of, and so we're trying to, you know, appropriately resolve that situation. And I'll let Greg speak to the boots on the ground piece of this, where we do our best to connect up people who are impacted with some sort of human services. Greg, can you speak to that?
Yes, Martin, thank you. We certainly can engage housing. Annette Evans has been our partner in this. She has a team of folks that have been able to go out and offer services or beds where available, offer hotel vouchers and other various avenues that to assist people. Sometimes that's accepted, sometimes it's rejected by the various individuals that are on the property. And as Martin indicated, yes, we are planning on placing this in the auction. It does have a real market value of $144,000. We would anticipate, given the COVID restrictions, to hopefully have that auction in September or the latter part of this year. And we would obviously need to secure the property before then and do whatever necessary cleanup of the property. There is no sanitary services there now, nor water or electricity servicing this site. So we're not sure where the waste is being deposited, and we may have a larger cleanup than anticipated on the property in order to put that in shape before we could put that on the market in the auction.
Alan?
I just wanted to point out for Commissioner Fye that there is an enormous amount of process that goes on before we obtain ownership of the property. We have to, it's a years-long process that takes place with notice and court hearings. So even before we get to this point, we have quite a bit of legal process where there's notice. And again, this is a little bit unusual, but this is something that we do every year to make sure that taxes are paid and we can perform our important services that we do. Thank you.
Jack, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Vice Chair Trees. I think what I'm hearing from Commissioner Fye's concern is that we are interacting with this individual, whoever this individual is, or family, in a humane way, and to try to point this person to the available county services. And I just want to say that by filing this legal action is not going to get in the way of that interaction, as our real property management group actually oftentimes deal with foreclosure transactions, and then we always look for the best outcome for the partners that we're working with in the community as well. So we will definitely keep in mind. And filing this legal action, we're not trying to penalize this individual or seeking financial recovery or anything. It's really to set the county on a legal solid foot to really start the work of interacting with this individual and then getting the individual off the site. So your point is very well taken. We'll definitely keep that along the line of our processes. Hopefully that help ease a little bit of your concern.
Are there other comments?
Thank you.
No. Well, thank you very much, Jack and Martin and Greg, for the presentation, for the education. Commissioner Fye, thank you for your questions. I know it makes me feel a lot better to know that there's a connection point with Annette Evans and that resources will be identified for the people that are there. So thank you for bringing it up. And thank you, Chair, for starting this conversation along that line. All right, so our next presentation is from Clean Water Services. And I believe we have Mark Jockers is going to be making this presentation. Mark, are you there?
I am here.
For a moment.
Commissioner Trees?
Great.
Trying to think, am I here? Yes, I am.
Right.
So Commissioner Trees, members of the commission, thank you very much. Mark Jockers with Clean Water Services. I am here to call your attention to an item that we will be bringing to the board next week, which is appointment to Clean Water Services Budget Committee. The way our budget committee is set up right now is we have the 5 members of our board, you all, together with 5 citizen members that are drawn from Clean Water Services Advisory Commission, or CWAC. Under our bylaws, the Advisory Commission nominates members to serve on the budget committee. They're put into 3-year staggered terms, so everybody doesn't turn over at the same time. And then we bring those names to the board for appointment. We have 3 members of the commission that are continuing on for this year, including our commission chair, Tony Weller, our commission vice chair, Mike McKillop, and also Molly Brown, who represents District 2. We have 2 open positions on the commission. And for that, we had 3 members. The commission forwarded 3 names for the board to pick 2 of. Normally, the commission would just promote 2 names, but we had not been able to get a hold of Molly Brown, who is currently on the commission, to confirm that she was available for this year. So one of the commissioners, Andy Dyke, had put his name forward as well in the case that Molly would not be available. Molly is available. So the 3 applicants that you have before you are Andy Dyke, Terry Song, who's our newest member of the commission, and Lori Hennings, who would be continuing on the budget committee. And based on the input you provide here, we will bring the names forward to next week's, I guess 2 weeks from now, board meeting.
Are there questions, Chair?
I don't have any questions, just a comment that based upon experience level and need for having new folks involved, I'm very interested to see Lori Hennings and Terry Song move forward.
Commissioner Willie?
Yeah, the only comment I'd make to that is then we would have 3 District 3 commissioners, 1, 2, 1, 1, and no 4. That would be, I was just looking for equal representation on the districts.
Are there other comments? Commissioner Fye, Commissioner Rogers?
No, I don't have any comments. I think Jerry's comments well taken. I mean, these folks are there to obviously represent some district where possible. So, yeah.
If the District 4 rep lived in the urban area, that really has more of a crossover with Clean Water Services, service suite, and cost structure, I might think differently, but appointing someone who lives in a rural area and has a business that's also in a rural area, I don't think adds sufficient value.
I would normally agree, other than the individual probably has as much, if not more experience than anybody that I'm looking at. So difference of opinion.
Commissioner Fye?
I don't have any comments. No.
Okay. I was asking you specifically because of your experience on CWAC, but this is, I recognize, as the budget subcommittee.
Yeah, this is the budget committee. I think I've served with both some of these members, but I haven't been on the budget committee, and yeah.
So, Mark, am I understanding that you are proposing Lori Hennings and Terry Song? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, based on the conversation we had with the commission on the 13th of January, those were the first 2 names brought forward. The member Andy Dyke had put his name forward if the other person was not available, but also to provide the board with an opportunity to choose.
Okay. Okay. So then what we need to do now is determine who we are going to move forward.
Can I say one thing, Vice Chair?
Yes, please.
I will say that Andy is also on the Clean Water Services Advisory Commission. So there will be that tie. So if we did want to move forward with Lori and Terry, Andy's still involved on that side, right? This is just the budget committee?
Chair?
Commissioner Fye, that is correct, although the budget committee is made up of members from the commission.
Right.
So all 3 of these people are in fact commission members.
Right.
So, so our next steps here, Mark, would you help guide us through this here? Do we need to do a thumbs up on 2?
If you'd like to do that, that would be helpful. Then we can write the board memo in that way.
Okay. Well, I think that I've heard the chair say that, Chair, you would prefer to see it be Lori Hennings and Terry Song, correct? And Nafisa agrees with that. Jerry, excuse me, Commissioner Willie?
Lori and Andy. I want all the districts represented. Andy does have a lot of experience in this, so it really doesn't matter to me that he is in rural, but you know, obviously we need to make sure that we include our rural folks. So even though they're not inside that district, certainly Andy knows all of that. So I'm recommending Lori and Andy, just again to make sure we've got equal representation to all 4 districts.
Okay, and so, and we do have 2 from District 3, Tony Weller and Mike McKillop, correct?
Yes,
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Although they represent different seats on the commission itself.
Yep.
So there's the combination of geography and types of seat, correct? And Commissioner Rogers?
Well, I've already got 2 on, so I'm not trying to be greedy, but I would follow Commissioner Willie's lead, since I agree with everybody has to have somebody from their district on it, in my mind.
So if I could make this simple for you, Pam, at least the first step, it seems like we are all in agreement that Lori Hennings would be there. So we could narrow the scope to either Terry or Andy, and that should be what our vote should be on.
Great, thank you very much, Commissioner. Okay, so we're all, may I see thumbs up on Lori? Okay, great. So we've got Lori in place, and may I see thumbs up on Terry? Okay, and thumbs up on Andy? Okay.
Thank you. We will.
Chair?
Who gets the longer term?
You know, I have to admit that is not something that I've thought through. I think we would probably we'd probably draw straws on those 3 and maybe try to match their terms more closely with the terms that they currently have on the commission itself.
I guess that's an interesting question.
I'd like to suggest, since District 3 has 2 positions already, that the District 1 appointment be given the longer term to go out June 2024.
No preference.
Okay. I don't have any preference either. It does ask the question though, Mark, why are the expiration terms so different?
Well, I think the design of that is to ensure that we don't have a turnover simultaneously. So we have some continuity from year to year with the budget committee.
Okay. Whatever. I'm okay with the chair's recommendation, Lori, going to 6/30/24. If that's what, Mark, if you want to do something different, have at it, but I'm okay with that.
And Commissioner Rogers? Commissioner Fye? Okay.
Well, I thank you, Vice Chair, for that counsel. We will move forward with a budget for an action item on the 23rd with that recommendation.
Great. Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. All right, we have completed our agenda for the day. Is there anything that anyone would like to add for the good of the order before we adjourn? Nope. Seeing nothing, it is time to adjourn and wish you the best. We will see you next Tuesday for our regularly scheduled meeting. Clerk Moss, is there anything else?
There is not, Madam Vice Chair. Commissioners, you just have a wonderful week, and thank you again.
Great.
Good job, Commissioner Treese. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.